Here's what infiltrating an Antifa headquarters looks like. It's delightful.
Get a fucking light out of our fucking face now!
Wow. Never seen cosplay out like this before. Yeah.
The FBI is now heavily going after this terrorist organization, while Democrats are in the media saying Antifa doesn't even exist. Welcome back to the JP Reacts channel, my freedom-loving friend. This is where we help spread the light of truth and freedom because truth conquers. Now, there has been an enemy of truth quite a while called Antifa. Trump recently signed an executive order declaring them a terrorist organization. More on that coming up in a little bit. And that's exactly what they are. Are they peaceful protesters? Are they exercising their First Amendment? No, they are actually doing terrorism. And you'll say, well, they're not brown people from Afghanistan. They're not terrorists. No, they're domestic terrorists. And it's potential for there to be foreign terrorism involved as they're going after their funding. That's all rightfully so. Now, the interesting thing is Democrats have recently taken to the mainstream media airwaves talking about how, well, Antifa doesn't exist. And, well, that just makes everything seem suspicious. So coming up in just a quick second, we'll see the examples of the Democrats trying to defend this terrorist organization, running the 1984 playbook where they're trying to get you to betray your senses. Yeah, this terrorist organization that we can literally see, that you see in front of you, that doesn't exist. Got it, 1984. I read it. I know about it. Therefore, I don't fall for it. And you might say, who are these Antifa folks? Well, as you can see from Antifa mugshots, they are not necessarily our best and brightest. You might say if there were more mental institutions, this is also who you would find there. You could just read a book by the cover. You can tell they are not mentally stable people. They're probably desperate for a sense of belonging and purpose. And if you hand a mentally unstable person who's desperate for those things a really crappy sense of belonging and a really crappy purpose, that's much more of a sense of belonging and much more of a purpose that they would otherwise have. So that's who we see in front of us. And you'll see more as an undercover reporter infiltrates Antifa headquarters. Boy, does that look like a building these people would hang out in. But first, let's see the Democrats running the 1984 playbook, seeing if people are dumb enough to fall for their lies, where they're all in lockstep with each other, telling you Antifa doesn't exist. Let's start out with Minnesota Attorney General Keith Ellison. Take it away, Keith.
So the fact that there is no, nobody even knows what it is. The first person I ever heard use the word Antifa was Donald J. Trump.
Well, Antifa must be Trump supporters then, but also it doesn't exist.
When he was going on about how there were good people on both sides in Charlottesville. That
was also a fabrication.
The first time I ever heard anyone use the term.
Great, Keith. That's wonderful. Then you might just notice a picture to Keith's right after he's saying Antifa doesn't exist. I never heard of them until Trump brought them up. Well, there you can see Keith Ellison, well, on his own Twitter from 2018, holding a copy of the Antifa handbook at Moon Place Books, and I just found the book that strikes fear in the heart of Donald Trump. That book is apparently non-existent because it's an Antifa book. And then in 2020, Keith Ellison's own son kind of inconveniently wrote this on Twitter: I hereby declare officially my support for Antifa. That sounds pretty official. Maybe Keith Ellison would say, no, my son, Jeremiah Ellison, he just believes that imaginary friends and imaginary groups are real, so he is mentally ill. Maybe that's what he would say. Or if he wouldn't say that, we could just say, well, he's obviously a liar. Now, before we get to more current Democrats just gaslighting Antifa doesn't exist, then why are you even talking about them? Trump signed an executive order declaring a non-existent organization of a terrorist organization. That shouldn't worry you if they don't exist. But you seem worried. And kind of like running cover. By the way, the Antifa leaders are now fleeing the country. More on that coming up in just a minute or two. But first, the Democrat that was the first to the table of denying the existence of Antifa. They're all doing the same play out of the playbook nowadays. But it was Joe Biden during the most obnoxious presidential debate I've ever seen, the 2020 debate. Here's a short clip from Joe.
Antifa's an idea, not an organization.
Oh, you gotta be
not
kidding.
militia.
Trump called it outright. You gotta be kidding me. But Biden, that quote should go down in some like wall. They should just inscribe it there. Antifa doesn't exist. It's just an idea. Joe Biden, signed by the auto pen. Now, what you see in front of you, these are either truth tellers or they're all propagandists. Weirdly in lockstep with the exact same message at the exact same time. Weird. So let's start out with Jimmy Kimmel, who's been making a name for himself recently. What do you have to say about Antifa, Jimmy?
There's no Antifa. This is an entirely imaginary organization. There is not an Antifa.
Jimmy wouldn't lie.
I don't even know what Antifa is.
I don't know what Antifa is either. Now let's see what the zoo animals at The View have to say.
It's not a highly organized movement. It's a moniker. It's not a unified group like the Proud Boys are.
Things like Antifa are things that are thought up.
It's all in this guise of going after Antifa, which is nothing. There's no organization called Antifa.
Nobody's a member of Antifa because it doesn't exist.
All right, that's enough. We'll get back to the video in a sec, but first, you know those days when you're juggling 1,000 things, yet you're still trying to lead, create, and perform at your absolute best? It's hard. I've been there. And I have found a total game changer for me, Nandaka by Peak. Nandaka is a powerful nootropic adaptogen blend with one goal in mind: peak productivity. Imagine laser sharp focus, calm mental clarity, and smooth, sustained energy that carries you throughout your day without the dreaded crash. While most mushroom products are packed with fillers like mycelium grown on grain, which is basically flavored oatmeal, Nandaka uses only 100% fruiting body mushrooms. And those are the real deal, the potent parts responsible for the actual nootropic benefits. This isn't about chasing a caffeine high. This is about nourishing your brain at the cellular level with potent ingredients like lion's mane, reishi, chaga, and ceremonial grade cacao. What I notice when I'm drinking it, my focus is clean, my energy is stable, and my creativity, it just flows. So if you're ready to operate at the top of your game, whether you're building, creating, or just wanting to stay ahead, Nandaka is your new secret weapon. And right now you can get 20% off for life plus a free starter kit with your first purchase. Just go to peaklife.com/JP. Try Nandaka for yourself and feel the shift in just a few days. That's peaklife.com/JP. Now back to the video. Now here you can see that group that doesn't exist recently in Portland using high-powered lasers, reportedly in an attempt to damage the eyes of police and ICE agents. Again, this footage of actual people does not exist. The people in it don't exist, according to all the trusted Democrats you just saw. And for a non-existent organization that serves the same master as the master of Wikipedia, they forgot to send the memo to Wikipedia saying these guys don't exist officially, because Wikipedia says they do. And they do have some lies. Check it out. Antifa is a left-wing anti-fascist, and this is 1984. It's a left-wing fascist and anti-racist. It's all about racism. Just we hate white people. By the way, you're all white. You should be self-aware. Antifa is a left-wing, anti-fascist, anti-racist political movement. It is sometimes described as a highly decentralized array of autonomous groups in the United States. Antifa political activism includes, here's the lie, includes nonviolent methods of direct action such as poster and flyer campaigns. Yeah, Trump signed an executive order declaring them a terrorist organization because they hand out flyers. That is Do you know how much unrest handing out flyers creates? Mutual aid speeches, protest marches, and community organizing. Well, but some who identify as Antifa, it's now a sexual identity, also use tactics involving digital activism, doxing, harassment, violence, and property damage. That's just like a subtle major self-contradiction, where earlier it says, Antifa political activism includes nonviolent methods, and then goes on. And then people who identify as Antifa also use tactics involving violence. Yeah, if you do, like, the most violent criminal is not violent all the time, but you would, like, 24/7, they're not violent. But the little bit of violence they do kind of gets you to classify them as a violent offender. So if you do both nonviolence and violence, you kind of go to the lowest common denominator. You're violent, as is Antifa. And then just real quick while we're on the page, what kind of folks are involved with Antifa? Well, a majority of individuals involved are anarchists, communists, and socialists. There you have it. I wonder why they hate the United States if they're anarchists, communists, and socialists. Huh. You would think if you want to overthrow the capitalist-run government and install communism, you would think that kind of sounds like terrorism. Now let's keep taking a look at the infiltration of an Antifa HQ. And you can tell this is all mental illness. Keep in mind the old saying, how you do anything is how you do everything. How this place is decorated is nothing more than a reflection of these people's minds. And when you see an actual person in this footage, you just ask yourself, does that look like a healthy person? Physically, none of them look healthy. But ask yourself, does that look like a mentally stable person? Just by the looks of them. Earlier, we saw him go by. It said, protect trans kids. Got it. Moving along, I like that. Full trash bags just on the floor. I mean, this looks like a place that homeless people would come in and just live like homeless people. It's trashed. That's because these people's minds are absolutely trashed. So why are Democrats saying Antifa, that you just saw footage of them, like, well, existing, why are Democrats saying they don't exist? And why are the leaders of Antifa fleeing America? More on that in a second. Here's why. Pam Bondi with President Trump announced we're going after Antifa. And we're going after the funders of Antifa. Take a look.
We're not going to stop at just arresting the violent criminals we can see in the streets. Fighting crime is more than just getting the bad guy off the streets. It's breaking down the organization brick by brick. Just like we did with cartels, we're going to take the same approach, President Trump, with Antifa. Destroy the entire organization.
He just pretending like he's paying attention to her. He's like, gosh, this lady just rambles.
From top to bottom, we're going to take them apart. Thanks to your bold leadership and the designation of Antifa as a terrorist organization, which is exactly what they are, Americans will no longer tolerate their unhinged violence.
And then the White House press secretary released this. Antifa leaders flee America as Trump cracks down on domestic terrorist networks. Let's see more on that. Several high-profile Antifa leaders, it's just funny calling them high-profile. It's like they're scum of the earth. But anyway, have fled the country or are actively making plans to abscond overseas. Mark Bray, a financier of transnational Antifa operations and Antifa's foremost thought leader in America, he's the guy that wrote the book that Keith Ellison was holding, announced he is fleeing to Europe, settling in Spain, specifically under the pretext of safety concerns following negative media attention. Yeah, it's like getting arrested concerns. And other leaders. Independent reporter Christian Peterson recently found the leaders of Rose City Antifa, which Democrats would tell you also does not exist. The most notorious American Antifa cell holed up in Europe. Caroline Victorin, one of the founding members of the Portland-based Antifa faction, they've been busy the past 5 years, and very recently, was discovered this week hiding with her husband, who's probably a woman, Antifa, Johan Victorin, a Swedish-born activist and another Rose City Antifa architect in the coastal town of Viborg, Sweden. Together, the co-founders of Rose City Antifa, the oldest known chapter in America, had helped import the European model of anti-fascism extremism into the U.S. Well, that kind of also sounds like not just domestic terrorism, but foreign terrorism. Now, Nick Shirley was recently on the ground in Portland filming Antifa protesters, rioters, setting up for a night of terror. Check it out.
I'm here in Portland right now, and it looks like Antifa, the protesters here, have had a shipment dropped off in a U-Haul right here. They're saying it's all the stuff that's been taken away from rapid response and from people since they've been out here. So there's a whole U-Haul full of stuff that's been getting dropped off right now of all of the equipment from the past few months of their protests. You have all this stuff that's getting dropped off right here. You have all of the inflatables as well.
So I think very importantly, the Trump administration not only announced they're declaring Antifa a terrorist organization, but they also declared they're investigating who's funding Antifa. How you doing, George Soros? How you doing? Your blood pressure okay? You getting worried? Which I think is important because we've all seen the stories over the past 5 years of pallets of bricks being dropped off at protests, and we wonder why they turn into riots. We've seen churches burning. We've seen many peaceful terrorist activity over the years, and Nick Shirley is showing like, hey, there's a pipeline of supplies coming to these people. Where does this come from? Someone's are obviously funding them, and the Trump administration has announced we're going after them, which I think is great. But let me know if you think I'm off my rocker and not buying into the narrative that is now telling us lockstep, Antifa doesn't exist. You're kind of crazy if you think so. Let me know what you think about all this. I'll look forward to seeing your comments below and look forward to seeing you next time. But until then, stay free.